Did you know that Thomas Edison tested 1,600 different combinations of gas and filament before he successfully created a light bulb? 1,600! So he tried 1,600 different times, and if you think about it, that means that if he tried a different combination every day, he would have failed every day for 4 years. And when needled about the scope of his failure by a reporter, he said something really interesting. He said, "I haven't failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." My name is Jen Shoop, and I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Moneythink. We're a startup ed tech nonprofit that delivers financial education to low-income youth. And today I want to talk about the art of the near miss. So those 1,600 different near misses that Tommy Edison had to go through before he successfully created the light bulb. For me, this concept has been formative in helping me design products and services that meet the needs of low-income consumers. I know I've hit on a near-miss moment when I see a kid using our app, and I almost have to cover my mouth or sit on my hands to prevent myself from going over and saying, no, that's not how you use it. You're supposed to go over there and then use it this other way. Those moments, as painful as they are as product designers, are the richest in terms of design insight, because you get a clear sense of where your technology needs to go next. Now, as a backdrop for the concept of the near miss, I want to throw up some of these incredibly successful companies. These companies have all made enormous changes in direction when it comes to their product strategy. Starbucks began by actually selling coffee makers. They then discovered a lot more traction selling the coffeehouse experience and brewed beverages. Chegg started by being an online space for students to buy and sell things. They discovered most of their users were only buying and selling one thing, and that was a textbook. They're now a textbook rental company. All of these other businesses, and I'm sure that you guys have others in mind as well, have made enormous pivots. I don't know if you guys remember this. This is one of my favorite episodes of Friends. But they made huge pivots, and this is really, the concept of the pivot is now part of our business vernacular. Many thanks to Eric Ries, a great business thinker, who said, through pivots, we can build companies where the failure of the initial idea isn't the failure of the company. I find this concept incredibly empowering, and my idea here is that we can apply this not just to the macro level of businesses, but to the micro level of product design, by actually going out there and looking for near misses and where your product isn't just quite right, and then making micro pivots in the direction of where you're headed. Now, to set the table, I want to advance the concept of the product as a specially packaged series of value hypotheses. So if you think about it, every single decision that goes into your product is undergirded by an assumption about how you think human beings are going to interact with that. So whether that means you have a leaderboard, or you're ordering things in a specific way in a menu, those are all assumptions. And so when you're putting your product out there, you're testing them to determine whether they hold true. Now, in my framework, the near miss is a moment when you've proved a value hypothesis is ever so slightly off. So let's get into the weeds, and I'll show you how this applies in the work that I do on a day-to-day basis. So I mentioned at the outset, Moneythink is a high-touch, high-tech financial mentorship program. Our model is to train and place college volunteers to deliver a year-long financial capability curriculum. Covers the basics: spending money mindfully, saving money, learning to earn money, using financial products safely. A lot of our kids come from cash-only families. Their parents rely on fringe banking services like pawn shops. We're trying to introduce them into the financial mainstream. So right now, we operate across 16 different urban areas, 30 university chapters, reaching 1,500 kids a year. A bit of the backstory: we were built in Chicago. This is one of our co-founders, awesome dude, our current CEO. He arrived at the University of Chicago, and it was the depths of recession. He was struck by the fact that he was on this beautiful, ivy-bedecked, multi-billion-dollar campus, and just outside the gates, there were foreclosed upon homes, boarded up businesses, a community that was really struggling through the recession. He said, what's something practical I can do? So he banded his buddies together. They decided to go into local classrooms and to help today's generation grow up to be more financially responsible adults. And as they got started, they realized the problem is enormous. First of all, this was mentioned at the beginning, people under the age of 25 are the fastest growing group of bankruptcy filers in the US. Each year, 2 million young adults exit the public school system totally unprepared for the challenges of financial adulthood. Student debt now exceeds $1 trillion. and I don't have this stat up there, but the number one reason why kids drop out of college is financial. The problem is enormous. And we believe at Moneythink that we're the only movement of young people working to restore the economic health of America. So we had this great high-touch, near-peer mentorship model. It was going awesome, but we knew there was a runway. We knew there was a long way to go. So we asked ourselves two questions. First, how do we extend the learning opportunity? So our mentors have about an hour a week in the classroom with their students. How do we create additional touch points? And what's an appropriate medium for that communication? Second, how do we incentivize and track positive financial behaviors? So in our space, a lot of people are measuring their impact by saying, let's take tests, academic proxies. Can a kid answer this question better after our program? But we know that knowledge does not equal behavior change. Think about it. Why else would we all eat badly? Why wouldn't everyone be super jacked? So we want to know, can we figure out a way to actually see whether kids are internalizing what we're teaching them and putting them into practice? Can we incentivize and track those behaviors? At the same time, we notice 85% of our kids have smartphones. Think about that. 85% of LMI youth, low to moderate income youth, have smartphones. That may be a signal about the financial mismanagement going on at home. Secondly, all financial decisions are being made outside the classroom, but we're teaching in the classroom. So, we knew that a smartphone strategy was in order. But then we realized, oh my God, we're this tiny little nonprofit, 3 full-time staff, how are we going to do this? So we called in some powerhouse partners. We called in IDEO.org, which is the nonprofit wing of the design giant IDEO. Cause Labs is our tech partner, awesome tech shop that focuses exclusively on social impact causes. And CFSI, which is a think tank in the area of the unbanked and underbanked consumer. We spend a lot of time going into classrooms, talking to kids, getting to know their mental models around money and mobile. We did a lot of workshops, surveys, interviews, gathering as much data as we could. We did some early prototype tests to see whether any of our early concepts had legs, and a lot of this. And if you've ever worked with IDEO or IDEO.org, you know that they probably keep 3M in business. We did a lot of post-it note writing, a lot of constellating of our thoughts. And where we landed was Moneythink Mobile, which is a native smartphone application that our kids can download from the App Store or the Google Play Store. And what it is it's a social media platform that enables our mentors to issue their mentees challenges that build financial awareness, habits, and skills. You can think of it more simply as a gamified Instagram for finances. And our kids actually gave us this language. I'm humbled and embarrassed to say I went into the classroom for the pilot not having any marketing language. They gave us this language. They started calling it the Instagram of money. Let me give you a quick walkthrough. So when you first open up the app as a student, you see these 2 icons in the top navigation bar. We're in the challenge view. You can add a picture of yourself. You see your point value. The rings around Money Maker and Money Manager darken as you complete challenges that map to each. And then along the bottom, you can swipe through all of the challenges that are coming up. Or you can see the ones you've already completed. Let's take this first one, Snaptrack. This was by far and away our stickiest. We asked kids to take pictures of all of their spending and saving moments and then to annotate them with emojis and hashtags. Imagine if I asked you to do that. What would you post? Would you be embarrassed? What would happen? So you tap on that challenge, you see the instructions pop up, and then you're taken here, and there are 2 views of any challenge room. There's the My Class view, where you see pictures from just the kids in your cohort, your own class. You can like, you can comment, you can, of course, post your own content. And then there's the Explore view, where you can see a tiled view of all of the kids across the entire US that are using this app. What do you think you would have posted? I'm going to assume that you would start to feel a little embarrassed about how much you spend at Starbucks. You may even begin to change your behavior to start to come up with creative ways to save. And you'd also kind of find some support from your peers in helping you make those good financial decisions. And that's exactly what we saw emerge from our kids. On the left-hand side here, we saw a lot of posts like this, kids creating savings moments for themselves. We also saw a lot of spending moments, a lot of hot Cheetos and hot Fritos. And on the right, we see kids beginning to use it just as a safe forum to talk about their finances. Just the other day, a kid posted a picture of a debit card and said, "My worst nightmare." And I love this because kids are finding a space to talk about this, be open about it, share their financial fears and concerns. This is where things get a little bit more interesting for me. These are moments where kids have actually begun to mentally code things that they're doing in financial terms. These are things they may not have otherwise thought of as financial moments, but now they understand them as a part of their financial lives. On the left here, this is like the holy grail of what we want to get to. Shoe store, not going in there. A kid's taking a picture of an impulse buy that she resisted, And she's getting delayed financial gratification as well as instant social gratification in the form of likes and comments from her peers. And on the right, just working with teens is endlessly strange. I have no idea why there's this pile of cash there. It's kind of making me uncomfortable. Those Benjamins should probably be in the bank. I don't know. But let's tie this back to the concept of the near miss. So we're testing this technology we'd built. We were putting this minimum viable product out into the world to test these 4 value hypotheses. The first was that this challenge-based model would empower kids to post moments where they were actually demonstrating a specific financial behavior. Second was that making it a social experience would drive engagement. Third, that enabling out-of-class interaction would deepen the relationships between mentees and mentors. And fourth, that our mentors would feel supported. So throughout the pilot, I spent a lot of time trying to see if I could validate or invalidate any of those claims. But more specifically, as I mentioned at the outset, I was looking for the near miss. And I took this picture during the pilot, and it will haunt me forever, because I saw a student, I was watching him start to use the app, and he posted into Snapchat, library card, #saving. And I was like, yes, this is great. I can almost see it on the cover of our annual report. This is awesome. And then he looked around, saw that none of his peers were posting, deleted the post, and put the app back in his pocket. I was crestfallen. I was so sad. But this was the richest design insight, and I had tons of other moments like this. Kids need to feel like it's okay. We need to get a critical mass of posters on there to help them feel like it's okay to keep posting. So we did a lot of things to address that with the next round, and we're seeing huge and awesome results because of it. So much of the pilot, I was Frank Underwood style, but why? Why aren't you using the technology as I wish you would have? And so we were looking for not just the clear outs, to be very clear about this. So there were some things, some aspects of the pilot that just did not work. So we tested a bunch of different reward schemes, and it didn't seem to have any impact on the kids' behavior. So it could have been that we didn't have the right rewards, they weren't administered the right way, they should be smaller rewards, administered at a different time. We just completely swung and missed. So I don't really know where to go with that, so we're going to do a bunch of different wild, easy, non-tech, low-fidelity ways of testing different options. I kind of think of the big clear outs like this. Colgate actually came out with a line of TV dinners that was quickly pulled off the shelves. But that's just a clear out, because I don't know if anyone else thinks minty fresh does not make me really hungry. So there's some clear outs, and then there are the near misses. And that's sort of me in the background during the pilot, just cringing and so sad when I saw these near misses taking place. So this was obviously a huge moment, this moment where I saw this student put his phone back in his pocket. There was another interesting moment, also a result of a design flaw, where we had kids that were accidentally signing up for the wrong classroom. We've since corrected that so it can't happen anymore. But what was happening, I was tearing my hair out because I was like, how am I going to get the kids in the right classes? But what happened was really interesting. All the kids would huddle around the phone of the kid who had accidentally signed up for the wrong class, and they would be scrolling through total strangers' posts, and they'd be liking it and commenting on it and laughing about it and saying things like this. She has a lot of likes, she must be really popular. And by no surprise, the kids that had accidentally gotten into the wrong classroom were much more likely to actually post themselves, because they felt like there were all these kids out there that were also posting. It was okay to post. So we were looking for all these near misses, aggregating them into insights, and then pivoting our technology. So the first one, I just gave you 2 examples of how this is true. Safety in numbers. We pivoted first to build for iOS. So we MVP'd on Android, and we realized very quickly we really need to reach the majority of the kids in each class, or else they're just not going to post. We need that critical mass of kids. We added the Explore feature. This was not in the initial minimum viable product. So the version I showed you is our current version. We pre-populated every challenge with content, so kids would feel like, okay, here's some examples and it's okay to post. We changed the way we trained our mentors, so that we told them, please just get in there and begin to post. This is how we talk about the technology. We knew we had to go big or go home. So we could have either done another small pilot with another subset of our classes, or we could just terrifyingly blow the doors off and get all of our kids on there. And we're in the midst of that terrifying process now, and there are, again, a lot of near misses. Second big insight here is that marketing matters. This is a dumb moment, I know, but we didn't go into the classrooms with any specific language in mind. And as I mentioned, the kids gave it to us. They began to call it, it's the Instagram of money. And having this handle has really helped us engage our kids and get them really excited to use it. Secondly, and this was a surprise to me, I realized that our mentors need the technology marketed to them as well. They're humans too. When I asked them after the pilot, what was your favorite part of using Moneythink Mobile? They said things like, I felt invested in. I'm so glad you picked me to be a part of this cool pilot. So I totally changed the marketing strategy there and rolled out what I called Operation Cherry Pick, where I literally reached out to every single chapter leader across our movement to have one-on-one conversations with them to get them to buy in, to feel like champions of the technology at their local campuses. We again revised the mentor training, basically telling them how to use it, telling them how to market the technology to the kids, and we did some very careful lesson scripting. So our mentors go in the classroom with this very mobile-friendly microsite and can look at all the language they need to use at a glance. Third, big insight, never underestimate the power of a like. So you saw that quote earlier, the kid saying, she must be popular, she has a lot of likes. This is just the currency that our kids use. They understand it. To sort of put some numbers behind it, we noticed a correlation between the students who completed more than one challenge had a lot more likes than the kids that started but did not complete a single challenge. We're beginning to see a strong correlation there. And here's a more specific graph of the likes that our power user Jasmine received. Jasmine is such an awesome chick. So she completed every single challenge the minute it was issued to her. She maxed out the number of points she could earn. And at the end of the program, she actually said, Jen, can I use this technology, just you and me, after the program? Of course, that's awesome. But we noticed something really interesting about her data, and it was that she received 20 likes in the first challenge room alone. And our hypothesis now is that because of that early spike in attention, got her over the hump, and she continued on to be a power user. So the pivots here, we added the Explore feature, as I mentioned earlier, so kids can provide lots of likes and comments on one another's posts. We changed up the mentor training. We have staff like myself who are actively engaged in all the posts our kids are putting out there. We're contemplating adding a script for auto likes so that anytime a kid posts, Moneythink Nationals likes their post. I don't know if that's going to seem super inauthentic, so we're exploring. And then lastly, if any of you guys like what I'm talking about and you think this matters, come find me and maybe we can set you up so you can help our kids along the way, like and comment what they're doing. They would love to hear from you. The last point here I want to make, and this is a quote from one of my personal mentors, Barb Chang, an incredibly talented product designer who's worked at Mint and Intuit and everywhere else. She said this to me. She said, product is about trying, failing, trying, and occasionally winning. And so my charge to you is to spend some time really actively looking for the nearmost moments, because you might just be around the corner from creating the next light bulb. Thank you so much.